The coroner said it was an accident, but it was no accident.
Osgood, you get my first question here because I love the fact that with adaptations, there is a wonderful challenge in honoring the source material, but also finding a way to put your own stamp on it. So what space did you find in that Stephen King short that you thought you could fill in a way that's unique to you as a filmmaker?
Well, what I wanted to do is I wanted to sort of express what Stephen King means to me, right? More than holding the book open with one hand and typing with the other and doing some kind of straight adaptation, which I don't think he expected. He certainly didn't ask for it. I think he's a much bigger mind than that. So I think he sort of tacitly welcomed the idea that I would fill this thing out with a personality that was my own, but the intention was always to do it with reverence for him because he's the greatest, right? So it's not like I can't ignore that. In fact, not only can I not ignore it, but I want to highlight it. So the idea was to try to create something that was fun, because I've always found Stephen King's writing to be really humorous, really sort of sly and sophisticated. And so I thought it could be so much more than just a haunted or freaky toy movie, that it could actually resonate about families and about parenthood and sort of the melancholy of living, which to me permeates all of Stephen King's stuff. And so, it became sort of, that became the guiding force, and, he likes it, so all is well.
Great success in all of those respects. There's something that you had said in our press notes that I really wanted to follow up on. It was mentioned that the team behind the movie originally wanted to go through a studio for the production, but I think the phrasing that was used was the suits couldn't wrap their heads around what you were trying to pull off here. So it was making me wonder, how might The Monkey be different if you had stayed in the studio system? And do you recall, I don't know, maybe the single note you were given that made you think, like, that's not the right path. We have to go independent for this.
It was more just the note started to come down that, a different movie was sort of testing well, and they kind of wanted The Monkey all of a sudden to feel more like that movie. And when you get into that sort of mentality of like, well, something's sort of winning over here, so we should probably just make it, like that. That's a really scary spot for an artist to be in. I'm an artist, turns out, in case you didn't know. And so it just, I think we would have been neutered in our humor, right? It's like, pick a lane, Perkins. It has to be one or the other. The audience won't understand it. I think the biggest problem with sort of studio mentality is underestimating the audience. And I think what we've been able to do with Neon, which has been such a privilege, is that we've given the audience the opportunity to love something that's left of center. And it turns out they do.
Left of center is where I belong. So I appreciate that. Theo, big two-part question for you here, because you get a really unique acting opportunity in playing two roles. I'm curious, what is something about your prep process that stays the same from movie to movie, no matter what it is? But also, what is something about preparing for The Monkey that called for something different?
Prep process, I'd say I always stay in accent from kind of the beginning of the filming process until the end. I feel like to get an accent right, whatever it is, if it's American, if it's South African or whatever, you need to live it because you start understanding it, you start understanding the rhythm of it. And also accent inflects everything about your character. It's how you walk, how you talk, if you're front or back footed. With this, I loved the comedy of it. I wanted to make sure those two characters were comedic, but in very different ways. Hal is a kind of repressed everyman. So I wanted his speech to be, he's a little more unsure and would stutter and repeat words. Also the way he moves, he doesn't move directionally. He moves as if kind of being pulled along. He's unsure all the time. Bill is the opposite of that. When he moves with kind of, direction. He speaks clearer. His voice is a little more grounded. But it was a challenge to make them as different as possible. But then they're identical twins at the same time. Not to blow smoke in your mouth, but it was a great script from the get-go. And as he says, he is a great writer. And I knew that from developing something together years ago, that he's an excellent writer.
I'm just a great writer.
And a great kisser, a great lover.
I'm a good date.
And, if you've got a good script, that gives you the anchors. Sometimes as an actor, you think you can fix things. In reality, if you don't have the pillars of a great script, it's very hard to. Coupled with, you want a confident director who is knowing with exactitude what kind of tone he wants. And that's exactly what was with this. There were times with the tone where I was like, is that too much, man? I don't know. And he was like, trust me, it's all good. And, and he pulled it off.
So you found both of those characters, got the accent, maybe got into their headspace. But what about when it comes to, I guess, blocking and also thinking ahead to the VFX necessary to pull all of that together? Is there anything about that part of the process that surprised you or required some adaptation?
Well, for a lot of doubling, you use a techno crane. So the computer, you vaguely plan out a scene, two people here, they move here, they move here. That has to be locked. Then the techno crane will cover a piece of it, and then the computer locks exactly that movement. The thing we found...
We didn't have that.
Well, remember we talked about a techno crane, do you remember? Yeah. And then we realized that would kind of box us in to performances. You like being light on your feet, so change things, throw in new lines. And actually, in the end, we kind of did it more classically, right? And
we got a guy who had the same ear as Theo from the back.
Yeah, you do. But it does need some planning because you don't want to lock yourself performance into one side of it. So you need to plan as the actor to know. Again, you need to keep it loose because naturalism is what you're going for, really, with being an actor, I hope. And but you want to know how you're going to perform on both sides even before you've done it, because then you don't lock yourself into rhythms.
You and Christian just absolutely knocked it out of the park, as did you, Oz, an artist.
Just an artist, just a great writer and a brilliant artist. I don't know what else I can say.
And
about
Christian
myself.
is fantastic. He's such a great actor.
So good.
Keep them coming. I love your movies, Oz.
Thanks very much.
Waiting for Keeper next. Congratulations and enjoy celebrating.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate you.